I'm talking with Bob Cowan. Could you tell me a little bit about your background, where you came from?
Well, I was born in Mos Side, in my bed. In those days, you didn't go to hospitals. I left school at the age of 14. I'd passed several times for higher school, but my parents couldn't afford to pay for the school uniform, so I didn't go. That was up to 1940, and at that time I was called up and I joined the Royal Navy. I was in the Navy for 6 years as an ordinary seaman, able seaman, leading seaman, petty officer. My destroyer was sunk in 1941.
What was it called?
After the Bismarck was sunk. 28th of May 1941.
Where?
It was about 200 miles south of Ireland. And the German bombers came out from the coast of west coast of France in threes, dropping bombs in front and on each side, so whichever way the captain turned the boat, we were going to be hit, and we sank within about 15 minutes of the attack. I swam in the sea for about half an hour before I was picked up. The crew was about 200 and it was 46 deaths, 46 dead. It wasn't very nice because you lost your mates, you lost your friends, dear friends. It was very, very cold. The sea was very cold. I came out shivering. I was picked up, I went back eventually. I landed in Greenock in Scotland, travelled by train back to Chatham, which is where I was based, in Chatham. And in 1942 I was back on the destroyer HMS Ashanti, and it was on the Ashanti that we did the convoys PQ-16 and PQ-18.
And what were they?
On the PQ-18, I actually landed in Murmansk, North Russia. And at that time, I could hear the gunfire. The war was coming from the Germans, about 30 miles away. I could hear the gunfire. And on the way back, we travelled as far north as we could, allowing for the ice flows, to avoid being torpedoed. And our captain was leading the I don't know what the term is now, was leading the destroyers. And because we dropped all our depth charges, we changed places with one of the other destroyers, and 10 minutes later that destroyer was torpedoed. We towed it back, hoping to reach Iceland, and the sea got very, very rough on the way to Iceland, and the destroyer we were towing broke up in half. There weren't a lot of survivors. We'd taken a lot. All that was left, we only left a crew on that was able to keep the boat stable. So when it broke up, there weren't that many in the sea, but I think most of them were lost.
What was it like on the Arctic? Can you describe?
What was it like?
Yeah.
Hell. It was hell. The ships that we were escorting with food and supplies to Russia were just being torpedoed right, left and centre. It was really... We were in the same situation. We could have been torpedoed, as I say. On the return journey, one of our destroyers was torpedoed. It was hell. But one of the memories, we were on deck and they brought up a urn of cocoa, hot cocoa, and it's all very vivid because you filled your mug, and if you just tipped it up slightly, it hit the deck and bounced. It had frozen on the way down. That's how cold it was.
So what happened after the Arctic convoy? It was you just did the two and they didn't ask you to go on another?
I joined a new a cruiser, HMS Swiftsure. I spent the whole of 45 out in the Pacific. Part of the time in Sydney, Australia. And we were escorting the aircraft carrier, which was... The Japanese were flying suicide bombers at the aircraft carrier, and we were actually protecting the aircraft carrier, and they were flying off their planes to shoot down these suicide bombers, which were actually passing overhead. We went to Hiroshima, where the bombing was, where the Americans dropped the bomb. And I walked through that to get into Tokyo. We walked 3 or 4 miles and desolate. There was nothing standing. It was just one metal hut that somebody had put up. We walked all the way. It had all been flattened out to get into Tokyo. So I had 6 years of war, and then a lot of action.
What impact do you think it had on you overall? Did it change you as a person, do you think?
Well, I was an innocent young boy. I went to Sunday school. I was a troop leader in the Scouts, and quite inexperienced of life. But when my first boat was sunk, I thought, how much longer? When's it going to be me? I haven't got long to live. I should start living. And that's what I did. That's how I practised after that. Well, I did the Malta convoy. The Malta convoy was murder. And we took the last supply ship in. We escorted in. It sank on the bottom at Jib. Not at Jib, at Malta. And we took that one in. And that was life and death. They threw everything at us. Planes, submarines, I think motor torpedo boats. There was all the lot, and the merchant ships. I've got a picture somewhere of one of the merchant ships, which was holed, and there was oil pouring out on the sea. And the crew were swimming, or trying to swim on top of burning oil. I saw that. It was really horrible. I've seen it all, Bernard.
You have, haven't you?
Eh?
You have.
But it does, I think it turns your life upside down. It really does. But that was the end of the war for me. I joined the Navy on 1st of January 40, and I officially left the 1st of January 46. I started studying again, and eventually qualified. One of the office managers said, "You won't get anywhere in this place until you get some qualification." So he said, I've written away for a correspondence course. So he backed me all the way, and I did night school and correspondence course, and I'm a qualified, now it's global, I'm still a qualified chartered management accountant. And my last year with Procter & Gamble was the best year. I was in charge of myself, and all I got was about 10 or 12 other managers to do the work.
How do you find life now?
Well, every armistice Sunday at 11 o'clock, I go into my back room. I stand there and do the silence, and tears run down my eyes. I can't. Because I had a petty officer living in Manchester. He was a flyweight boxer. He was a very good petty officer. And when we abandoned ship, there was a big, they call it Carly float, there's cork, all bound together with rope. And they were all hanging on that. And I made my mate, I said, come on, we're getting nowhere. We weren't making any progress. I said, let's swim for it. So I was picked up, and this float went round the stern of the destroyer. Of course, the captain of the destroyer is up front, and he started his screws up, and they were all churned up. They were all killed. There were 16 of them there, killed. Terrible. But I always say I wouldn't have missed those 6 years for anything.
Why?
Really.
Why?
Experience. I just think I'm different in that way. I saw so much hell, really, and you live through it. And say it gradually changed my life. I went on a bike and I was riding home one night. There was no traffic. It was about 11 o'clock at night, I think. There was no traffic. And a Bobby pushed his bike out in front of me. Stop. He said, you've got no lights. I said, so what? He said, I'm putting you on charge. I said, you can't do that. I said, I've just come out of the Navy, the wartime. I think I was in uniform, actually. And I said, I'm going on. Sod you. I think you become fearless, in a way. I have something which people didn't have the experience I had. They don't get, they never will get it. They won't get it. it's a living experience, it's a life experience. You don't read it in books, you don't learn it. You just experience it. I had one, when this boat, this destroyer broke up, there were men floating on rafts in the water, and I had a line with a hook, and I hooked his raft and started to pull him. I was in the forecastle up at the front, started to pull him down to where they could pick him up, and it was bouncing up, and I can't hold this anymore. So foolishly I fastened it to a guardrail, and the weight snapped it. Whether they got him, I think they probably did lower down. But it's experiences like that, you know, it's life and death. We went I'll give you another experience. It was terrifying. But the captain in the Navy were mad. They were madmen. It's victory. It's life. Never mind life. And the Tirpitz, that was a German battle cruiser, was anchored up Norway. And apparently the information had come through, it was showing signs of movement. So the cruiser that was in charge of the destroyers, we were told to steam into this creek to torpedo this ship, and we sat there on the deck inside, and the boat was doing more faster than it's supposed to do. It was 42 knots, and the whole boat was vibrating. It was vibrating, and we were sitting there because we're going to our death. And the captain was quite prepared to do that. That was war. And after about an hour, they stopped, turned round and go back. You haven't got enough fuel to get there. Thank God. So we immediately turned round and went back. Side, side, Shanty's ship side. Jimmy looks on it with pride. But I went through everything on those destroyers, even painting the funnels. What I've been trying to tell you, after you've been sunk once, your whole outlook on life changes.